Postgrad Clarity. I'm here with another special guest.
Hey, my name's Samantha, but most people call me Sam.
I call her Munch. That's only for me though, and
Indeed.
a few select people.
Indeed.
Her friends got wind of it, and now they start calling her Munch. She be pressed every time. So don't do it. Don't do it, y'all. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering why we're so dressed up. We are dressed up because our mother is having a going away party because she's selling the house, and this is the night of the party. We're dressed up. We're ready to go. We also decided to commemorate this time by making a photo wall, which I'll insert some clips. It has some pictures of all the memories we've had in the house, which there's a lot more than what's on the wall, for sure. But this is like a little glimpse, and we're going to share with you because today's episode is about grief. So before we even get into it, I want to do a quick little trigger warning. If you are somebody who doesn't really deal well with grief, or this is something that triggers you, feel free to click away and watch one of the other episodes. All right. So to start us off, what is your experience with grief? How much... We're sisters, so we have basically the same experience, but I'm going to ask her opinion.
Different, yes. So, it's lagging.
It's fine.
Okay. So, can you edit that out?
Yes. She's a little nervous, y'all. It's okay.
Don't put that in there.
Okay.
Okay. So, my experience with grief is, well, there's a few experiences we have under our belt, but I think the one that most affected me is probably losing our dad about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a long journey. He was battling cancer and stage 4 prostate cancer when we found out. So it was pretty scary because you were 16.
I was 12.
Oh, sorry. She was 12 when we found out. And I was... Hold on, y'all. Let me do some math. 13, 14...
Like 18?
18?
18.
When we found out?
17, you were 17 turning 18.
It's okay. We'll get the timeline for y'all.
Yeah.
But it was a 5-year battle, and we were both relatively young to be going through this kind of thing. And it impacted us both in very different ways because, I mean, when he actually did end up passing away, I was in college. I think I was in my, I was about 1 year away from finishing.
Yeah.
And then you were in...
It was the summer before junior year, so I was 16.
Right, and she was about to be in her second to last year of high school. So we both were kind of having a lot of things going on because she's gearing up to be wrapping up her high school soon. I'm gearing up to be finished with college soon. We're just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And COVID hadn't even happened yet when we first found out. So can you imagine dealing with all of this and then COVID and all this stuff is just crazy. Crazy. So we're going to talk about our experience. We also have had several other experiences with grief, so this is not our first time dealing with this topic.
Right. I think it might just be the closest.
Yeah. This is definitely the worst one. The other ones are include, but not limited to. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, y'all. So we have our uncle who died, 2 of our uncles that died pretty back to back. It was 2 months in between. And then we had grandfather die, grandmother die, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's not like we are kind of oh my gosh.
New and shook.
Yeah.
It's just a different series of events almost with this one.
Right. So I'm going to let Munch share her perspective since she was front and center for it while she was here.
Sure. So, from my perspective, it started really going downhill after my 16th birthday, a week or 2 after my 16th birthday. And he was in and out of the hospital, and my mom and I were kind of that's not a good sign. And then I was actually supposed to get my hair done this one day when we went to they was going to one of the appointments, and we go, and they were like his oxygen level was very low, so we had to go to the emergency room and whatnot, and that's when they were like, he only has a few weeks left to live, and we were all kind of like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
So shook, of course, no hair got done, and my mom was kind of on go mode, and I don't remember exactly when we told you, but I think I had to be the same day, but
Yeah,
I just don't remember when, because then she was calling everyone. So then it was a lot of nights of, because in that time still, because COVID was still like heavy, just not as, so the hospitals, they only allow one person to go in.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of just sitting in the car in the parking lot of the hospitals while my mom was in there for hours on end. Hours daily too. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Then it was like the end of the school year. It was getting towards the end of the school year, so I stopped going to school because then they decided that it had to be hospice, and my mom wanted to do at-home hospice, so I stopped going to school. Then my grade, can't tell about my grades.
You can if you want
Okay. And then my grades was plummeting because I wasn't going to school and I wasn't paying attention. Obviously, my mind was kind of like shaken up.
Yeah, you had other things to worry about.
Yeah.
More than the average,
Yeah.
like, however old you were at the time
My
would have to worry about.
And, yeah, because she was down here for my birthday. And then, so it was like a few weeks after she left, too. And, whatchamacallit, yeah, so then I ended up having to talk to the principal and stuff and explain what was going on, because I was going to fail. Like, it was not good. And I've never had such bad grades. Like, I've never done so bad. I was always on it until then. So, then school was over and whatnot, and now it's summer. It's supposed to be a good summer, but no. And he was very known to a lot of people and very loved by a lot of people. So constantly people were at the house. And she wasn't back down here yet. So it was me with all these people in the house every single day. Waking up to all these people in the house every day. And it's not like it was like a bad thing. But you can imagine sometimes maybe you just want to be alone.
Yeah. And she's like at that time she was like kind of social, but like not really. So like I just know you are not having this.
No, it wasn't cutting it. It wasn't. No. And it was getting overwhelming to a point too, because then people are like coming in my room and they're doing this and that. Like they always want to talk.
We love the help. We appreciate everyone, but
yes,
sheesh,
indeed,
it's a lot.
But I don't think some people didn't really understand that there's still boundaries. Even if this is happening, I still have my own personal boundaries. Like,
as you should.
So, and then, what is it, like May and stuff? And the doctor had said a few weeks, but it ended up being like
a couple months.
A few months.
I was like, wow, you guys were like wildly off. You guys kind of gave us a little heart attack there.
Okay, like why are we shaking up for what?
Yeah.
So then I was kind of still in the mindset of like, nah, he'll recover. Like he'll bounce back. It won't be nothing. And, then like the hospital people was coming and like it was like nurses, then they wanted me to start doing like before grief counseling, and I was like, why would I do that though? And then I ended up doing it, of course. And it was like the social worker, so then she was coming by every weekend, and but she was nice. I love her.
Shout out to what's her name? Susanna?
Susanna, yes.
Yes.
Shout out to Susanna for real, man.
She was good, and I didn't even really talk to her that much. But when I did talk to her, she was great.
She was good.
Yeah, I liked
she was
her.
so like short and I loved her though. So yes, and then of course like she would come back periodically and stuff, but it obviously wasn't the same because nobody was like fully getting it that was around me, and nobody was like right there dealing with it with me. So and then some days went on and stuff, and then it got to be a lot for my mom. So they were like, the hospice house had this thing where it's like you can take them to the hospice house and they'll stay there, whatnot. Then you leave, come if you want to sleep over at the place, you can, but it takes the weight off of like the caregiver per se. So then yeah, after a few months, then she took him there, and I think it was like 3 days in there, and on the third day, I think the next day, well, he was supposed to come home, but by the third day, he just it was very, what is it, unresponsive. He was unresponsive, but like still breathing, and you can still hear and stuff, but unresponsive. So we were there, and she wasn't back yet though for this one, but
Yeah,
we were.
I forgot what was going on specifically, but I think I didn't have a car at the time, so
That too. So we had to drive up there,
Yeah.
and then my mom didn't want to drive up there, and then risk him dying, and we're
not there.
not there.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be there though, anyways, but
right.
I was there. I was right there, if anything. So we go to the hospice house. This the morning that he died. We went to the hospice house, just like a regular day. And I hadn't been there the day before, but the day before that I was there. So the drastic change from like still like talking but not talking clearly, and then like trying to get up to just laying there unresponsive. It's kind of traumatic. So that was a whole different thing. Then, of course, some people were there, and whatchamacallit? I'm drawing a blank.
It's okay. Because you had the part where
Some people were there, and then we had to leave for a second, and the pastors were there. One of them was there. Then we had to leave for a second to run back to the house and then pick up one of my aunts. And then we went back. When we went back, the doctor was talking to us, and the doctor was basically saying that, like, it's any second now, it's any minute now. And then we were kind of like, oh, God.
Bracy, can you imagine hearing that at like such a young age? Like you're
Yeah.
just kind of like,
Any minute now.
I can't imagine.
It was like, any minute now, what is that?
what does that mean?
What does
Like
that mean?
that could be like you talking
I
about like
could
right
blink
now, or
and- yeah, like-
yeah, it's yeah.
And I was sitting outside because I didn't want to be in the room. So I was sitting outside. So go in the room, whatnot. There's a few people in there, and I'm sitting on the couch and stuff. And like the difference in his breathing too was
It's like
drastic.
shallow, right?
Yeah, because it was before it was very like loud, and it was like steady, and then it was just like barely breathing. And someone was praying, and I was like, I had my eyes open still because like, I don't know, I think it was like a trauma thing, but I had my eyes open still, and I was just looking at him, and like I saw like the last like breath, like the last rise, and so I saw the last breath, and like I knew it in that moment because it was just everything just stopped, and I feel like the whole like everything just went black, everything just stopped. It was crazy. So then the nurse comes in because the nurse has to like pronounce him basically,
Yeah.
like call it, I guess.
Yeah, like the time and everything.
Yeah. So she checked his pulse and whatnot, and like I said, like he was gone, and I was kind of like very angry, but it was just more like I was like pacing back and forth, like oh my gosh, and I'm trying to like stay to my mom, and then my thing was like I didn't even start crying and then I was like, but like how do I tell like my sister, like who's gonna tell her? And then I started sobbing, like fell on the floor sobbing.
I think I was on the phone with you
After.
before it happened, and then like
after.
and then after it was just crazy. Like I can only imagine. Like for me, it was crazy, but I can only imagine for you because like you were actually there when it happened. You saw everything from like start to finish. Like it's a surreal experience.
Yeah. Shout out to the hospice people then though. They
For
were
real.
they were great.
Like what was the name? Treasure Coast Hospice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Treasure Coast Hospice. Like shout out to them because the staff was great, very supportive. I've never had hospice experiences before, but I would assume that all of them should be like that, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. So, it's very important to find a good hospice location and
yeah.
team and everything.
Yeah, and then I think maybe like a day or two that night then we go home, and my mom was like letting everybody know and stuff, and then the neighbors came by and we're talking, and I didn't really like I cried at the hospice house. Then that was it for the day, and we come back, and I was kind of like it just, I don't think it never hit me until more recently, but so then I try to go to sleep because I'm like, I felt exhausted. I think I slept maybe an hour, and I was just up, but I was kind of like scared. It was very like, I don't know, it was very scary, but my mom was sleeping in my sister's room at that time, so she was right across the hall, and I heard her get up, and I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I was not going to walk over there. So I was a little shaken up.
Yeah.
So, and then she was up, she was up. She couldn't sleep. So I was like, oh, perfect. We can be up together. And we were up the rest of the night till the sun came up.
Wow.
And then I think other people came by, and I took a nap once people came by, but we were up till the sun came up. Then, of course, now we're like on go mode with planning the funeral and stuff, and like trying. I don't know. She wanted to do it a little bit too fast, but none of us.
We had wait. This is gonna be on the internet. I think that since we knew from beforehand that it was happening, that the process went a lot faster than if it was a sudden death. Since we had known, I mean, technically, if we go back, we have been really prepping for this since we found out.
Yeah.
Because when we found out, they said it was stage 4, it was
terminal,
He was
yes.
gonna die pretty soon after that.
So we was planning. They was trying to like be ready, and he was having conversations with us about like what to be doing, what not to be doing, you know. And I think we was not ready, but I was expecting it pretty
early, yeah, because that's what they told us.
So for 5 years to go by,
and nothing happened till like the 5th year. It's like
it's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So I think,
I totally forgot the part about the surgery.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of details that we're probably gonna forget, but you know, to make a long story short, it was just, I think, not to compare deaths or anything, but I feel like since we had that, we're kind of prepared, like more prepared than most people would be, compared to someone who like died suddenly or didn't have an illness or something like that. It would be a lot harder. I think most of the people that we've had pass in our family passed away due to like an illness, like a ongoing illness. So there was only like a few that were shocking because it was sudden and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think, do you think that us knowing, did that help you process the grief any differently or any better than?
No, you know? Because we knew, but I didn't accept it. I was more of like...
Especially you should have seen him. Like,
yeah,
he looked normal.
So I was kind of like, mostly when I was younger, I was like, that doesn't happen. My parents don't die. Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So I was definitely in this like clouded thing of like, nah. And then I didn't really understand either, because I was 12 and they explained it, but didn't explain it in detail.
Yeah, no, it was very light, like brushed over.
Yeah, so I was like, well, it must not be that big of a deal neither. Then you have
like,
the conversations, and I'd be like, it's not gonna happen though. What are you talking about?
And that is what we call, my friends,
Denial, delusion, all types.
But so she was dealing with that in high school. I was dealing with it in college. I have a completely different perspective because I was not here from start to finish. I was here from the original diagnosis up until when I left for college, and then like once everything started going downhill, I was like staying on, I think off-campus housing or something.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't have a car yet, so I couldn't come like at my leisure, like back and forth. I had to wait for someone to come pick me up or something. Like, I didn't know anybody who could give me a ride to the bus station to get a bus ticket.
And I couldn't drive at that time.
Yeah.
Our mom did not like long drives herself because she never had to do them.
Yeah.
So that was a whole thing of getting used to too, because she don't live here. She had no car. We had to make the drive. But
yeah, and money was tied to be buying bus tickets and everything. So I wasn't here as much as I would have liked, or if I had a car, as much as I would have. But I was on the phone with them pretty consistently, and it was just like, it's a lot to deal with when you're in college. Like, I was in college, at that time I wasn't working 3 jobs, but I was working a job and taking a bunch of classes and trying to be involved in like, organizations and stuff like that. So for me, it was a tough experience, but because I wasn't in the house while it was happening, it didn't feel like it was really happening. Like, because you can, like, while you're here and you're in it and you can't really escape it, like, you go and you come, you can go to school and come back and do your thing, but once you come back home at the end of the day, like, it's in your face, pretty much. Whereas where I was on campus, like, I didn't have to worry about, like, coming home and like I could detach if I wanted to. Like I could be like, okay, like be on the phone for like 20, 30 minutes, an hour, a couple hours. Even if it was a couple hours on the phone, like I could still hang up. I
Yeah.
can choose when to call. I can choose when to address it or and when not to. So it was easy for me to kind of detach from the situation and reattach and detach and go back and forth like that. And I also had a lot of distractions because I didn't tell everyone that I was living.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't tell nobody really what was going on until like it was getting close to the time where things were about to start escalating. And then I had to tell some professors and stuff like that so that way I could like be excused from classes and whatnot. But other than that, like nobody really knew too heavy like about what was actually going on. So that was just a whole experience by itself. I commend you for being here and sticking through the whole thing because I'm not nearly as strong, y'all. Like I don't know if I could have done all that. Respectfully, like what you said, God gives his what is it?
What is it? The
His-
most difficult task to the
the
strongest soldiers.
soldiers. I was about to say shoulders. Soldiers. And Munch just happens to be the strongest soldier up in here because he just keep piling them on her.
Yes, it's one thing after another. I'm like, okay, God, let's take me off the list next year.
Right. She said, I'm done.
I'm done. Thank you.
So, now that we talked about the death and everything leading up to that point, how do you think this affected you afterwards? After the funeral was over, you know, everyone's out the house. Now it's just you and Mom here, and you are still in high school. High school didn't just disappear, you know. So how did you cope with the grief during high school?
I think it was definitely hard. It was definitely hard. Coping wasn't really a big thing I was doing. But in this time after the funeral and stuff, then they got me straight into grief therapy, and I was in the single therapy and group therapy and all types of stuff. And the funeral was like a weekend or two before school started back. So then I had to jump back into school and like kind of act like everything was okay. Like that didn't just happen. Like the funeral isn't right there. Like it just, and everybody left. Everyone's back to doing their own thing. Like the world's still moving, and I'm like, I'm so angry because why is the world still moving? Why do I have to go to school? So I think you were here for my first few days.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
First week
because
or
she took
something.
you took me to school.
Oh, yeah, I
and,
did. Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Took me to school and yes, she took me to school and took me nameless to school.
And I forgot.
But yeah, so she took me to school and it was hard staying at school. Like I could go there, but my anxiety was bad. I was just sad. Like there was no distractions, and nobody really knew. I didn't talk to people and have like, I talked to a lot of people, but I didn't have deep enough relationships, I feel like, for me to have like a support system at school. But I had like my best friend, like she was through it all. And the guy I was dating at the time too, you know, he kind of watched it happen too. So those two were definitely like my support system through like the worst parts. And yeah, my grades were terrible. I wasn't really going to school like that after the first few weeks. After the first like 2 weeks, I wasn't going like that, and my mom wasn't really tripping too much because, you know, how can you expect me to go to school and act like it's normal after this? And I physically couldn't do it. So my grades were terrible, and that's how it went. And I was skipping school. Or I'd go and then I leave. Like I couldn't do it. I would have breakdowns, like anxiety attacks, like all types of stuff while being there. So it was like, nah, I can't do this. And my grades were terrible. They were like okay in the beginning, but nah, they were just terrible. And the guidance counselor I had that year, though, my goodness, she wrote some stuff up so that way I could pass, because without her, I would not have passed. And yeah, so there was a lot of days of just not going to school, and a lot of days of going to school and then like just sobbing all day and wanting to go home. Then it was like anxiety because now I'm like attached to my mom in a different way. So then it's like anxiety of like not being around her and then all types of stuff. and therapy was like helping, but it wasn't doing all it should have been doing for the way that I was in it so much and like deep into it.
Therapy can only do so much.
Plus, I didn't want to put the work in, and therapy is like you got to put in what you want to get out.
Yeah, if you're not ready for therapy, then therapy's not as helpful as it would be if you were like open to actually doing it. So I feel you.
Yeah, and I had my little like bus group, and they definitely helped a lot too. I think that they helped as more of a distraction because then they're coming over and we're going on walks and all types of stuff, you know. And one of the people in the group, you know, he really got it because he could relate to me in a certain way. So there was that too. But it was one of the hardest years of my life for sure.
I mean, at least you graduated though.
But at least I graduated.
At least you graduated.
Yeah, I was on the brick, but it's okay.
As long as you finish.
That's all that matters. As long as I finish.
And that's good. I think a lot of people
Don't finish.
Yeah, don't finish for less.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of like, oh, you know, like, I just don't think high school's for me, or like,
Yeah,
you know, like this
school.
one little thing happened and I'm just not gonna finish. Yeah, so I think you're very strong, Mitch.
And hearing that definitely helped a lot. Like, they would always tell me, or my mom would always tell me, like, well, people quit high school for less, so
Literally.
graduate and you're good. So
Yeah.
college flew out the window because I was like, nope, school, I can't do school. No. And before all of this, I was pretty set on like being in the medical field, whether it was like doctor or physical therapist. I was really on physical therapist for a while. So the plan was to be in school and be in school away from here because I didn't really want to stay here either. But everything just got switched upside down. Yeah.
I feel you on that not wanting to go to school part. I mean, like, I barely wanted to go to school in general, but, like, even more so. I mean, I would just have to say, like, for my college experience, I had one of my hopes was that he would be able to, because we knew that time was ticking and closing down. So one of my hopes was that he would be able to be here for like my graduation for college at least. Cause I'm like, okay, if we can make this stretch until like that time, I'd be satisfied because like, you know, I'm not a greedy person. You know, I don't need to have, you know, I don't know when. At that point, I didn't know when I was gonna get married. I didn't know when I was gonna have kids. All that stuff. So I was just like, the only thing that I knew for sure was that I was graduating in a year. So I was like, that is all I really want. And when that didn't happen, it was kind of sad. It was a little sad and scary because it's kind of like, dang, like we were so close too. Like it was only a year. Then it's kind of like, well, should I have gone faster through like? Because I technically could have gone faster through my program in order to have the experience of him being there at my graduation and things like that. So now I'm thinking like all these things I could have done differently for him to be there. And then it just kind of turns into like a whole spiral. But then at some point you realize you can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know.
Because it would have been difficult and maybe that wouldn't be the memory you would have wanted for graduation.
Yeah, because then I would have been not here as much. I would have been in the books heavier, like all types of stuff. So I don't really regret anything. I just wish that it could have been different. But, you know, God's timing is perfect. So we stick and move. So now that you explained how you dealt with it in high school, how did you deal with it once graduation passed? You know, you had the high of graduating and all the excitement and everything. And at that point, it had been when you graduated, how, like a year?
Almost. It'd been a year and some
change.
Some
Right.
change.
So it's been a year and some change of dealing with the grief, and now you don't have to worry about high school anymore. So now you're in a whole different ball game. You don't really have that access to that type of distraction anymore. Now you have like you can do whatever you want with your time now. So
after high school?
How was it for you?
After high school?
Yeah.
After high school, I think like it was weird because I was definitely grieving still, and then twice as much because then my relationship at the time fell, crumbled, fell through, wasn't gonna come back up. So there was like, it's like losing that, I guess, and then still the thought of like, cause Ina, our dad was at her graduation, her high school graduation, but not mine. So then there's like that's running in the back of my head too. Like I just graduated and he wasn't even here to see it. Like and then there's like okay, well you're not going to college, so let's figure out what you're gonna do. And then a lot of stuff like that. So the first month and some, it was a little bit rough. But once I like bounced back from that, it was more just like going out and trying to get more involved in church. And my best friend was leaving because she was going to Georgia at that time. So it was like spending as much time as possible before she left. And that's like a whole different thing too, because she's been battling everything I've been battling with me for years, like 7+ years at this point.
She been in there.
Yeah, so that's like a whole new thing too. Now being separated, and because she also lives 5 minutes away, so it was never like a separation thing with us. And then so yeah, it was like getting. Should I talk about camp and stuff?
I mean, you can if you want to.
Okay. So then it was like I still didn't really have like a solid set of friends. I'd say I just had like the people I talked to. Then getting involved in church and stuff, we always had this camp that me and my friend, we always go to, and it came back around, and I was like, okay, like this is our last one, we might as well go. So we go, and we kind of rekindle with some of these people that we went to our first camp with, and then just some people that we know, like we've known for a while. And it ended up being like the best time ever. Like there was no sadness, nothing bad was really in my head. So I was on that like new friend group high for a little while too, and we were all going out every day. Like they was coming over. It was it was a whole.
I call it a post camp high.
Yes,
or
that's definitely what it is.
High.
Post camp.
Yeah,
high,
every time there's a big conference or a camp or something that you do with a group of people, and then you come back. Like, everyone is just connected. You think these are your friends for life?
For sure.
Okay, you are never going to be not friends with them. Like, this is just, this is it.
It's mostly because you think it's like that solid, good Christian friend group that you're looking for, but it just wasn't meant to be like a group. We all still talk, but it just wasn't meant to be a group. So it was definitely a high. So they helped through a lot, though, because I was still grieving. Now it's like the holidays and stuff.
Yeah, holidays were the worst for you.
It didn't make it through the holidays, but yeah, holidays are terrible. So I don't even remember how holidays went. What was that? Oh, last year.
Oh yeah, that was last year.
Yeah. I don't even remember how holidays went last year.
But I mean, I remember that you did have some friends that did come over. And,
yeah, I think that was Tab and Tam.
Right.
Last year.
You guys had like a.
Or the year before.
Little pajama party.
No, we had a little thing, and I cooked and stuff. Did the gingerbread houses, the
But
Christmas
those kinds of things help, for sure.
For sure. Because I don't think you were back yet, neither yet.
No, not yet.
Still
in college, y'all. Mm-hmm. It feels like, as we'll tell the story, it feels like I've been in college for like so much longer than I was at that point. But yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you had your friends.
No, you was working. Because last Christmas.
Whatever the case was.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but those kind of things definitely help ease the pain of that kind of situation. Because the last thing you want to do is be sitting down, sulking alone in the dark.
During the holidays.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing all that. So I'm glad that you had your support system, even though it was a little rocky with some people. At least you had something, and I think that was a good distraction. Not to say that everyone should just distract themselves and not deal with it, but at that point it had already been like a year and a half or something like that. So it's different from, you definitely need to acknowledge it when it's fresh and then just ride the wave, but once you get to a certain point, I don't think it's a bad thing to detach for a little bit
from it.
Yeah, detach from it.
Yeah,
live your life, whatever. There'll always be moments where it creeps back in, but I'm glad you didn't let it overtake your whole life for a long period of time.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It definitely did for a little bit, but oh my god, I think now I'm at like the detached point. And now it just kind of sneaks in a little bit here and there, but
yeah, because now
is totally different. So.
Right. So now that we're on the topic, so we talked about during high school, right after high school. Where are you at now?
Oh boy.
You've come a long way, I feel like.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
my hair color switched about two and a half
Sure
times.
did.
Like it was a thing, but
Yeah.
I think throughout all of it too, I learned how to like be alone without being sad.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good too. So now I'm at a really good place now, I promise. Now I'm like studying and trying to figure out what I'm really good to pursue, because like all I've been doing is working and like studying, but then like coming off of it. But like now it's like lockdown studying, like dealing with all types of stuff. But and now I have like a solid friend group, and everything's kind of in line. It's pretty solid around here for the most part.
She's involved with church heavy.
Oh, I'm very involved with church. I'm very serious about my walk. Like, I think like if I didn't get so serious too, it wouldn't have been as smooth as it was to get to this point, because it wasn't smooth, but it could have been way worse.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, this type of journey is never smooth, y'all.
Yeah.
It is anything but smooth.
Oh yes, it was rocky. I was down and like deep. I was deep down. Now I'm like I'm leveling up.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like God brought me through a lot, and like has given me the friends that I have now, like the people that are like the most important to me now and stuff, and like now the frequency of her being able to like come back and stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
if I don't have friends but I have my sib, I'm fine. You know, it's like one of those things. So she's not okay.
What? You look at me like that? Whatever. You like it.
So yeah, it's definitely a good place I'm in now. So now it's like in grief, it's not going through the whole stages. Now it's just living the new life that you have to live.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah.
Because there is life still goes on.
Life does go on.
It feels like the end of the world, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always something to be learned, and I'm glad you did learn something from it.
I learned a few things.
You learned stuff about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You learned how to deal with other people. You learned a lot.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Do you think you would have done, like, do you think if he was still here, would you be where you are today? Or do you think it would be better, worse, whatever? Like, do you think those things needed to happen to you in order for you to get to where you're at now? Or do you think, like, it would have happened regardless? Like,
No. I think if he was still here, I would be in such a different place. And because we didn't have like the best relationship once it got to a certain point. So I think that definitely affected like my grieving process real bad too. But if he was still here, I would be off like in a whole different city at probably Orlando, really.
Yeah.
At college, but I wouldn't never had the chance of taking my walk with God serious too. I wouldn't have met the people that are like the closest people to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have, well, I knew some of them, but I wouldn't have like been able to know them how I know them now and like get close with them and like go through things with them too. Like, so no. And I would have not, because now I'm in the field of like studying to do real estate and life coaching. That was nowhere near the books that I wanted to do before. So life coaching is really my passion. So I don't think I probably would have reached my passion or found it out for real, or pursued it.
Yeah.
Pursued it if he was still here. So I don't regret all the things happening, because I think it had to bring me here to this point, around these people, around this time, like, and being so involved that I am.
Oh,
like,
yeah, because I didn't see that coming. Not that she was a heathen or anything, but like I didn't see it coming.
Because I always had my little involvement in church, but I'm deeply involved now. So yeah,
you're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Munch. Wow.
I ain't even in therapy no more. Like, my emotions they're steady. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
From where I'm coming from, it's pretty crazy.
So, yeah, from where you started to where you're at now.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank God, really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because those emotions was terrible.
Mm-hmm. I think from my perspective, as someone who went through college, you know, started like adulthood and pregnant and all that stuff, like it's a mix of emotions. I think post grad, it didn't necessarily like I said, it's easy for me to detach. I'm not saying it's the healthiest thing, but it's what happened. So, you know, I just kind of like, I was able to graduate, job, especially that last year of college, because I was working 3 jobs. I was in all these organizations. I was taking all these classes. You can ask my current boyfriend right now. Like, he was like, "Why are you working 3 jobs? Why are you taking 5,000 classes?
Right.
Why are you in all these organizations?"
Right.
And I think I would have been in I think I would have done everything in college the same. I don't think, because I'm that kind of person to just do a whole bunch of things at once. Like, I'm just one of those. So call it crazy or whatever, but that's the type of person I am. So I don't think that really pushed me to do those kind of things. But I think that us going through this is going to be helpful for somebody else, for sure.
Yes,
and that's why I wanted to do this episode, because I feel like a lot of people go through death when they're in college or high school or something. Nobody talks about it. Like, it can affect your grades, like you said. It can affect your mental health. It can affect how you deal with people.
Yes.
Yeah, it can affect like your whole. If you let it take a hold of you, it will like run you dry. It will run you through the mud. So I'm glad that we were able to. We had each other. We had a mom. We had friends, family. I had my boyfriend. All types of stuff. You know, and it's not like we're perfect. We're definitely not perfect. We're definitely not like 100% healed or anything, but we're definitely like
just in a good place.
Yeah. And I think that happens with time. As time goes on, things will get better. It doesn't disappear, but things do get better. Life goes on. And everything happens for a reason.
Navigate with it now.
Right. And with all that being said, post-grad clarity moment. What is something that you realized after you graduated high school about dealing with grief that you didn't realize in the moment? So like, it could be anything relating to the topic of grief.
I think like hiding it and putting on like a fake front doesn't work. I learned that one pretty fast. That like it doesn't just go away because you hide from it and you try to like act like you're okay and stuff. Because then once you're alone, it all comes. I think it makes it worse because then it's only hitting when you're alone and you're not asking for help. So,
right.
Good gracious, hiding it doesn't do nothing.
No, it's better to just embrace it instead of trying to just. I know I said that I detach and stuff, but I do acknowledge it when it happens. Like especially in the beginning when it's fresh. When it's fresh, acknowledge it. It's okay. I think I don't want to like sound like a hypocrite or whatever, or like going back and forth or whatever, or contradict. That's the word I was looking for. I don't want to contradict myself, but I think at the beginning you need to acknowledge all the feelings that you're feeling because they're fresh and they're a lot. I think after you get to a certain point in the healing process, I think it's okay to detach a little bit because if you keep it on your mind, it's going to really you're not going to progress through it. You're just going to be stagnant, and nobody wants to be stagnant. Nobody wants to be stuck in the feelings for the rest of their life. It's hard. It's a long process. It's a lot to deal with, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think if I had to give like a tip or trick, I would say community.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, community is
the
biggest thing. And we should have said this before the post-grad clarity moment. But since we're here, like my biggest tip and trick for anybody dealing with grief is to find a community, whether it be like a group of people who are going through the same thing as you, whether it be leaning in on friends you already have, or building new relationships, whatever the case is. Like having
the church folk.
Oh yes, I can't tell you how helpful them church people was, and I'm not saying
and they still are
and I'm not saying go to church just to find people to do stuff for you, but if you go to church and you find a community, oh my goodness, there's something about church people.
With the church and you're talking, you're being purposeful with it. You're not just going because like, oh, well, let me go, and then I have like a backburn to like lay on. No. They've seen us through a lot of stuff, so it's more of like they want to be there. You want to have it so that they want to be there for you, not like you have to run to them to like lean on them for everything. You know, you're still your own person. They expect you to handle your stuff, but they want to help you. That's the type of community.
And let them.
Yes.
Don't push them away. Let them help you. Because we had people coming in cleaning the house. We had people cooking meals, dropping off meals. Yeah, all types of stuff. Like paying bills. Some people paid bills. people were like sending money, like all types of support,
Just
flowers.
talking, like anything and everything really helps in its own way.
Yeah,
Something
so-
small, even as just like a thinking of you card, like it might seem overwhelming because it was at one point.
It was.
I was overwhelmed and I was upset.
Yeah, overwhelmed and upset.
But looking back, it's like, okay, thank God, because I know, and I knew in the moment that if I feel like I wanted, because I know I needed, but if I wanted to talk to somebody, I could.
You had a
a
whole bunch of
plethora
people.
of like people I could choose to talk to. I didn't want to. I don't recommend talk to people.
Yeah, she recommends y'all to talk to people.
Yes.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our episode. Thank you so much, Munch, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, darling. Well, guys, that's the end of this episode. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, drop down any of your grief
Experiences.
Yeah, grief experiences.
Any tips you want to give to other people.
Tips, tricks, what you thought of
Reach
this
out if you
episode.
feel like you want to talk.
Oh yeah, like our DMs are open. You know, if you relate to what we were saying, you know, feel free to reach out. So until next time, see y'all later.